If you are a bookish content creator and another creator has taken your content and used it in their content on social media without your permission, you have options. This is not something that they can legally do. Your content is protected by copyright, and they cannot just take it and use it how they please. Now, some people will claim fair use, but there is a very specific definition of fair use. And if they are using your content, they have to prove that they do, in fact, have fair use, which can be pretty hard to do. Now, we have a full playlist here on the channel with my lawyer. He is an IP and entertainment lawyer. We have tons and tons of episodes here and on my main channel about fair use, on your copyright protections, all of those things. So make sure you watch through those. I'm actually going to link one on fair use down below. But for the most part, it's going to be very difficult for them to prove that they had the right to use it without your permission, and it has to fall within very specific parameters. So with that in mind, let's talk about your next steps. First thing is you're going to want to decide what you want to do and what you want to get out of this. And we've, again, had these conversations with the lawyer, so make sure you check this out. I'm just kind of giving you a brief overview of what we've already discussed here on the channel. So you need to know what actions you want taken. Do you want it taken down? Do you want that content removed? Do you want some kind of retribution for that? Depending on what it is, you may actually be able to get some money out of that, have them license it after the fact, or if there's some kind of damages, if like something really bad happened, you could potentially be getting some money out of that. Now, real talk, for the most part here, you are not going to be making money or a ton of money off of these things if somebody steals your content. It probably will get to the point of sending a cease and desist, and they will have to take it down at that point. But there are different avenues for this one. So you have to determine where you want to go with this, what you need to do with this. Sometimes it's going to be as easy as contacting them and say, hey, you didn't have my permission, you need to take this down immediately. Or it could be, hey, you didn't have my permission to use this content. Here is the licensing agreement, and here is how much money you're going to have to pay retroactively for illegally taking my content. Now, I do recommend that if you have the ability to, you grab yourself a lawyer for this one. This is not necessarily something you want to deal with on your own. A lawyer is going to be able to help you better, but that, again, depends on what results you want. If you just want it gone, maybe you don't want to pay for a lawyer. If you do want money out of this, or if you believe you can get money out of this, maybe you do. Oftentimes, you'll be able to go and speak to a lawyer without having to pay them and just have a conversation about what steps you could potentially take and then make that decision. And a lot of lawyers are not going to take a case on unless they think they can win it. They're not going to put a bunch of time and effort into this and charge you a bunch of money if you're not going to get a good result out of this, but they're going to be able to give you a little bit of guidance. And as always, I'm willing to share my lawyer with you. So if you need somebody, let me know. You want to make sure you're having an open conversation, but you also need to understand if you do want to take legal action, if you are going to do more than just a cease and desist, if you do want to sue them, if you want to take them to court, if you want to get money out of this in a bigger way than just like a little licensing fee, you need to take that video and register it with the Copyright Office. Because even though you have those protections granted you to by just creating that content and putting it out there, you can't take legal action without having it registered. So you have to go through the paperwork. You do have to pay some money on this one. And then once that's registered, then you can take some legal action and get more money back. So you're not really going to get a ton of money unless it's registered with the Copyright Office, which you can do when you discover this is a thing. And again, we've talked about all of this with our lawyer in the playlist, which is linked in the comment section, or the description of this video, I should say, so that you can learn a little bit more about this. So let's dial it back a little bit. Somebody has taken your content, they've used it in a way that you are not comfortable with on the internet. You are going to have to decide, do I want to jump right into a conversation with a lawyer, or do I want to reach out to them and see if we can resolve this on our own? That's your choice. You need to have a conversation saying, you did not have my permission to use this. This is not going to be a fair use situation, and you are going to need to rectify this in, and very specifically say the way. If it's a licensing agreement that you want, if it's taken down is what you want, you need to tell them and be very, very clear, and then give them a deadline response that is, not like within 4 hours you have to respond to me, that kind of thing. You have to be realistic about this. And then you also want to make sure you're reporting that content. So if somebody has put your content on YouTube or on TikTok or on Instagram and it's not allowed, you need to report those things. Now, YouTube is pretty good about when these things happen, getting that down fairly quickly. TikTok is terrible about being really, really slow. I reported things months ago. Somebody outright stole one of my YouTube videos, chopped it up all weird, and then stuck it on TikTok, and they still haven't done anything about it from months ago because they're so backed up. So you have to go through saying, this is my intellectual property. Here's the proof of this. You need to take this down so that they get strikes on their account and have the content taken down. If you had your content taken by like a really big person, you have a following, you have people to help you out, have them report it as well. Some of the structures are easier to report through than others. I know that on like TikTok, you can't go and say, this is impersonating someone else. You can only say, this is impersonating me. So some of the platforms make it really hard. Some of them, like YouTube, make it very easy to report content from other people helping you out. And of course, the more reports that a piece of content gets, the kind of higher it bumps it up on the status of the waiting list. So report the content. That might get it taken down. It'll get them strikes on their account. Hopefully it won't happen again. Make sure you are reaching out to them to let them know next steps. And if you really want it to stop very quickly, send a cease and desist. And send it from a lawyer. It's going to make it a lot faster or a lot more legit feeling. Sometimes people, especially bigger people, will ignore you if they feel like they can just stumble over you. So sometimes you will have to have backup in those situations. I know it's not a fun place to be in. My content gets stolen all the time. My people's content gets stolen all the time. So I feel for you. I understand that it is not a fun place to be in when things are stolen, and especially if people are like not being kind about the things that they're saying in association with your content. So know your rights, know what steps to take next, and if you're uncertain, talk to a lawyer. You can have a conversation with a lawyer, usually for free. Sometimes you can have like a consultation with them for a very low price, and then some lawyers will work on like a sliding scale. So if you are getting this much back, they will take a percentage of that instead of an upfront fee. There's ways to go through this. It's not an impossible dream for all of us. It is reachable at this point in our society, at this point in our entrepreneurial life. It is much more easy and accessible to get a lawyer for these things. So drop your questions down below. I will, of course, with anything legal, direct it to my lawyer to get answers for you guys as well. But there's a whole playlist. I highly recommend you check it out. If you need a lawyer, I will happily share my contact information with you. And then hopefully we can get you all situated and set so that you do not have your content stolen in the future. But registering with the Copyright Office once something has happened, because you don't want to register thousands of videos. That's really expensive. But once something has happened, you're going to want to register it so that you make sure you have legal standing when you're moving forward with these things. We'll see in the upcoming episodes.